الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله.
Hey everybody, I'm going to run through the homework questions for Unit 5, Lesson 2, The Rise of Islam with you today in this session. So let's get going because I don't want this to be too long or take up too much file space, alright? So, starting with the first question, question 1, who was Muhammad? What do we know of him? What do Muslims believe about him? That sort of thing. Well, any question like who is somebody always has multiple parts. I mean, fundamental questions of identity about anybody. How far do you go? How much depth do you go into? I tried to give you some clarification on that with the guiding questions of what do we know of him historically, and what do we know of the Muslim Prophet from what his followers, the about 1 billion Muslims in the world, what do they believe about him? So what you'll want to do first is go into the book. All right, that's always where you want to start. With any of these questions and with any homework assignment, you always want to start with the book. All right, so looking at pages, let's see, page 191, which is the very beginning of chapter 6 in the book, there's a picture there that depicts it's a 14th century illustration from the life of Muhammad. And it shows a picture of some of his followers, his father-in-law, his son-in-law, and also it shows the Prophet himself on a camel. However, you'll note his face is whited out. The caption in the book for that picture explains why, and also I mentioned why in class. But there's a picture there for you to look at, which might help you a little bit. And then in the book itself, pages 200 through 203, 204 cover Islam, the Islamic empires, a little bit of information about the religion, and obviously about the founder, Muhammad. So that's the book. But for this question, I would look at slides 2 and 3 from the presentation. Slide 2 is entitled Muhammad, and slide 3 has the same title, only it says continued, so it's Muhammad continued. Remember, history is what can be known from evidence, from written records. It's not what we call hagiography, which you may have learned that word in Mr. Gambone's class. But hagiography is, well, it comes from the Greek, hagia, meaning holy, right? But it's a holy record, if you will. And hagiography is usually written with a religious purpose in mind, a religious intent. It may be rooted in truth, it may not. So we have to take hagiographical sources with a grain of salt. I want you to focus on, you can write about both, right? That's fine. When describing the Muslim prophet, it would be foolish not to describe, his role as a religious leader and his the beliefs that people who believe what he teaches. That would be silly to leave that out. But make sure in your answer you distinguish between what we know of him as a man, as a prophet, as a historical person, and then also what we know of him as a prophet and as a religious leader. Okay? All right. Question 2. Explain the 5 pillars of Islam. All right. The 5 pillars, all right, 5, is essentially a summary of Muslim beliefs that can be remembered by pointing to each of the fingers on one's hand. And this was done because, especially in the Dark Ages, when Islam was first founded, vast numbers of people, especially the poor, were illiterate. Right? So you can assign each of these beliefs to a different finger on your hand. So, as I told you in class, and if you look at slide 5, the 5 pillars of Islam in the presentation, you can know what they are, but I'll just remind you really quick. Creed, prayer, almsgiving, fasting, and pilgrimage to Mecca, or as they call it in Arabic, the Hajj. Okay. Now, I've listed them. The question in the homework is explain the 5 pillars. So you're going to explain them. What is prayer for Muslims? What is fasting? When do they fast? What is the Muslim creed? What is almsgiving for Muslims? What do they mean by this? And pilgrimage to where? So explain all this. Explain why it's done. This should be a relatively detailed answer. This is not something you're going to do in a sentence or, God forbid, a sentence fragment. All right? Complete sentences, please, and a good paragraph. This is going to take a little bit of writing on your part. Why? Because you want to make sure you can explain all the details that go with each one. That's part of learning, kids. Okay? Now, number 3, what is the Quran for Muslims? Okay, note that clarifying phrase there at the end. What is the Quran for Muslims? All right. Now, I, as a Roman Catholic, or someone else is of a different religion, okay, what is the Quran? It is the Muslim holy book. All right. But Muslims believe not only that, but they go further in their beliefs. And I explained what Muslims believe about the Quran in class. You'll want to check your notes that went with slide 6, the Quran, from the class lecture. All right? That will help you with that. Number 4, how did the Muslims govern themselves during the Dark Ages? Okay. For this one, look at slide 7, the caliphates, okay, or the caliphates. That will run through the various Muslim empires and caliphates that existed during the Dark Ages. That will shed some light for you on that subject. But again, you can look into the book, page. Let me look for just a moment. Page 202. Page 202, the Islamic empires, will explain. It runs through a number of the different empires here, and just before that, the section called Islamic diversity. That section discusses the rise of Sunni Islam and Shia Islam, but it discusses the rise of the caliphates, the first Muslim empires. So these 2 sections on page 202 will help you with that. All right. So that's what you'll look at that, and then. Sorry, give me a second. Here we go. Number 5. Number 5. List and explain. Okay. 2 contributions, pardon me, of Muslims to Western civilization. Right? This one is pretty straightforward. Look at slide 8, the notes that you took for slide 8, the Western debt to Islam. Right? And also you can look on that in the book, page 203. Covers the section in the book has the same title as the slide, the Western debt to Islam. Right? It's very easy, and there are many of them. The Muslims had many contributions for Western civilization. We owe them a great deal. All right, but so it's very easy to list them. Here's the key: explain the contributions. Tell me why they're important. Who came up with them, what they did, what they represent. All right, so that's the key there. Understanding the importance of these contributions. All right. For that, as I said, slide 8 in the presentation, page 203 in the book. All right. Well, there you are. That's enough for now. Hopefully that helped you out. And remember, if you have any questions, you can always email me at my school email, jcochran, that's COCHRAN, at ctkprep.org. Good luck.